The video is still up. I want you to understand that before anything else, it is still online right now as you listen to this. It is about 9 seconds long. A grizzly bear standing at the driver's side window of a sedan, and a woman's hand coming out holding a fistful of trail mix, and the bear taking it delicately the way they do, with a strange gentleness that surprises everybody who has never seen it. She laughs. You can hear her laughing. It has a few million views, and the comments are all some version of the same word. I have watched that video more times than I can defend, and I am the man who had to kill that bear. Welcome back to Doomed Departures. What you are about to hear is a composite story. It is built from real protocol, real bear behavior, and the real and specific way this park loses an animal every time a person decides the rules are for other people. But the woman at the center of it is an invention, assembled from every roadside stop I have watched go wrong. No real person is named here. She is a dramatization. The bear is a dramatization. The science underneath both of them is not, and neither is the ending, which has happened in this park in one form or another more times than anybody who works here would like to count. This is Yellowstone. And I need to start by telling you about the bear, because everybody who tells this story starts with the woman, and that is exactly the mistake. He was about 6 years old, a boar, a male, in good condition, and I mean genuinely good. The kind of animal that makes you stop what you are doing and just look. Grizzlies at that age are at their absolute peak, all shoulder and dish face, and that rolling walk that does not look fast until you see it be fast. He had a tag in his ear and a number, and I am not going to give you the number because I have my reasons. He was known to us. He had been in the system for years, which sounds ominous and is actually the opposite. It means we had watched him, and he had never once been a problem. Not one incident, not one campsite, not one cooler. He lived in the backcountry and ate what a bear is supposed to eat, and in 6 years of being a very large predator surrounded by roughly 4 million tourists a year, he had never given anybody a reason to write his number in a report. He was, in every sense that matters, a good bear. And that is the last time in this story anyone gets to say that about him, because on a Tuesday afternoon in June, somebody rolled down a window. Roadside bears are a whole thing here. We call the traffic they cause a bear jam, and if you have been to this park in summer, you have sat in one. A bear comes near the road, and the road stops. 50 cars, 100 people leaning out of windows, people getting out of cars, which they are told not to do and do anyway. And most of the time, it is fine because the bear does not care about us. That is the crucial thing that everybody gets wrong about a wild bear near a road. He is not there for you. He is there because there is a good grazing meadow on the other side, and you and your Camry are simply an obstacle in his afternoon. That is the whole relationship. He ignores us, we photograph him, everybody goes home. It has worked for a very long time, and it is held together by exactly one thing, which is that the bear has never once had a reason to think we are worth approaching. She gave him one. She was in her 20s, in a green top, in a rental car near the back of a bear jam, and she had a phone, and the bear came down the line. And here is the thing I want to be fair about, because the lazy version of this story makes her a monster, and she was not a monster. She loved that bear. You can hear it in the 9 seconds. That is a person who is delighted, who is having the moment of her entire trip, who thinks she is participating in something beautiful. She was not being cruel. She was being affectionate. She reached into a bag of trail mix, and she held out her hand, and she gave a wild grizzly bear a snack out of what I am fairly sure was love. And it was the single most destructive thing anybody did in this park that year. 4 seconds. That is roughly how long the exchange takes on the video. 4 seconds. Now let me tell you what those 4 seconds did, because this is the part that nobody understands, and it is the entire reason I am telling you this at all. Bears are not dumb animals. I need that to land. A grizzly is a serious intelligence, closer to a dog than to a cow, with a memory built specifically around food, because a bear's whole life is a math problem about calories. He has to find enough food in a summer to sleep through a winter. So evolution has given him a brain that is exceptionally good at exactly one thing, which is remembering where food came from and going back. That is not a flaw in the bear. That is the bear working perfectly. So when a hand comes out of a car window holding something calorie-dense and sweet, a thing that has never once happened in 6 years of his life, his brain does what it was built over hundreds of thousands of years to do. It files it instantly, permanently. Cars equal food. That association does not need repetition. It does not need training. It does not fade. One reward is enough. Biologists have known this for decades, and it is why the rule exists. And the rule is not a suggestion. It is federal law in this park. And the reason it is law is that a single handful of trail mix can rewrite an animal's entire relationship with our species in one afternoon. She did not give him a snack. She gave him a new belief. And you can watch it take hold in the reports from the rest of that afternoon, which is the part the 9-second video does not include. Within 2 hours, we had 3 separate calls about a grizzly approaching vehicles on that stretch of road. Approaching, not crossing, not grazing. Walking up to car doors and waiting. Because he had learned something at 3 in the afternoon, and he was now applying it methodically, car to car, the way you would check every vending machine in a hallway. Somebody else gave him something almost certainly. That is how it goes. The first person makes him hopeful, and the third person makes him certain. And I want to be honest about the fact that she was not the only one. She was not. By the end of that afternoon, there were probably 4 or 5 people who fed that bear, and I have thought a great deal about whether that lets her off the hook. And I have concluded that it does not, and here is why. The first one is the only one that matters. Before her, that animal had 6 years of evidence that cars are boring. A bear does not walk up to a window on a hunch. Somebody has to prove it to him once. And after that, the proof is in him forever. And everybody else is just topping up a tank she filled. The fourth person to feed that bear did something rude. The first person to feed that bear did something irreversible. She was the first. We were working it by 4 o'clock. I want that on the record because people assume nobody was paying attention. We had a unit on that stretch of road hazing him back, which means exactly what it sounds like, making a lot of noise and making ourselves unpleasant, trying to reteach an animal in an hour something he had learned in 4 seconds. It does not work well. It has never worked well. You are trying to argue a bear out of a belief using inconvenience, while 100 people in 100 cars are actively arguing the other side with food. We closed the road segment eventually. By then it was dark, and by then it did not matter, because the lesson had already gone in and the bear had already gone looking for the next classroom. By dusk, we had a bear on our hands who had spent 5 hours being taught that humans are a food source. And here is the part I do not think most people ever consider. Where do humans go at night? They go to the campground. He got there sometime after midnight, Loop B. And we were looking for him. That is the detail that I have never been able to put down. We were out that night actively in vehicles working the loops because everybody with a radio in that district understood exactly what we had on our hands by sundown and exactly where it was going to go. You do not need a crystal ball for this. A bear that spent an afternoon learning that humans mean food is a bear that will be in a campground that night And we knew it. And we were driving those loops trying to find 400 pounds of dark brown animal in the dark in a campground full of trees and tents and people who had no idea any of it was happening. We missed him by less than an hour. I found that out later, from the timeline, the way you find out everything in this job, after it can do nobody any good. Less than an hour. That is the whole margin. That is what 4 seconds of trail mix bought. And I want to be careful here, because this is where people expect a monster movie, and what actually happened is much quieter and much sadder than that. He did not come in raging, he came in shopping. That is the horrible truth of a food-conditioned bear. He was not hunting anybody. He was doing a slow, methodical, completely calm walk through a place he had recently learned was full of the thing he wanted, checking, sniffing, nosing at coolers, working the loop like a man walking an aisle. If you had seen him that night, you would not have described him as aggressive. You would have described him as confident. And that is so much worse, because a scared bear leaves and a confident bear stays. She was in Loop B. Of course she was. I have gone around and around on whether that is the cruelest coincidence I have ever encountered in this job, or whether it is not a coincidence at all. And honestly, I have landed on the second one. She had spent the day in that part of the park. The bear had spent the day in that part of the park. The campground was where the people were, and by midnight the bear had been taught, by us, by her, that people were where the food was. He did not seek her out. He had no idea who she was. That is somehow the worst detail in this entire story. There is no justice in it, no karma, nothing poetic. He was not coming for her. He was just coming, and she was there. I am not going to describe what happened, and I want to say why rather than just skipping it. It is because she was a person, with parents who did a thoughtless thing out of affection and did not deserve what it cost her. And because there is nothing in the details that would teach you anything. The last 4 minutes have not already taught you better. It was fast. It was not a mauling out of a movie. Food-conditioned bears are not monsters, and this one was not a monster right up until the moment when a very large wild animal was inside a tent with a human being, which is a situation that has only ever had one kind of ending, no matter how gentle the bear was being 9 hours earlier when he took trail mix out of her hand. Let me stop and ask you something, and I am asking it seriously, because this one is not really about bears. When was the last time you were kind to something in a way that hurt it? Fed the wrong thing to the wrong animal? Gave somebody the money instead of the help? Loved somebody in exactly the way they asked for, and made it worse? Tell me in the comments, because that is what this whole episode is about. She was not cruel. Cruelty would have been easier to explain. She was kind in a way that killed. And now I have to tell you about the second victim, because when the sun came up, we had a bear who had entered a campground and made contact with a human being, and there is a protocol for that, and everybody who works here knows the protocol, and everybody who works here hates it, and nobody who works here has ever found an alternative that works. You have probably heard the phrase, "It is not a slogan we invented for bumper stickers. It is a diagnosis." A fed bear is a dead bear. Here is why, and I need you to actually follow this because people always ask why we could not just move him. We move bears all the time. Relocation is real and it works for a bear whose problem is geography. A young bear in the wrong drainage, a bear too close to a road, you tranquilize him and you drive him 100 miles and he goes and lives his life. That works because the thing you are fixing is where he is. You cannot relocate a belief. That is the whole thing. What was wrong with this bear was not his location, it was his knowledge. He had learned that humans mean food, and that lesson was going to be in his skull in whatever valley we dropped him into. And the first campsite he found in that new valley he was going to walk into with exactly the same confidence, because as far as he knew, that is simply what campsites are for now. Bears that get relocated for food conditioning come back, or they do it again somewhere else, and either way it ends the same, except that we have now also gambled somebody else's family on it. There is no rehabilitation, there is no bear school. You cannot untell an animal something it learned that thoroughly, and there is no sanctuary in this country with the space to hold every grizzly a tourist has ruined. A zoo will not take a 6-year-old wild boar, and it would be its own kind of cruelty if one did, taking an animal built for 100 square miles of mountain and giving him an enclosure because a stranger could not keep a window rolled up. So we did what the protocol says, and I was there, and I am not going to hide behind the passive voice about it because he deserved better than a man being vague about his death. I killed a healthy 6-year-old grizzly bear who had never done a single thing wrong in his life because a stranger gave him trail mix, and I did it about 18 hours after she filmed the cutest video of her trip. He weighed a little over 400 pounds. He was beautiful. He was exactly what he was supposed to be right up until Tuesday afternoon. There were 4 of us there for it. Nobody talked. There is no ceremony for this, and I have sometimes wished there were. You do the job and you do the paperwork, and the paperwork has a field on it for the reason. And the reason you write is not trail mix. The reason you write is a clinical phrase about human food conditioning and public safety. And the phrase is accurate, and it is also a way of not saying what actually happened, which is that a woman on vacation was nice to a bear. People sometimes ask whether I blame her. It is the wrong question, and I have stopped trying to answer it politely. I do not need to blame her. Blame is a thing you assign when you want the story to have a villain, so that it stays a story. This is not a story, it is a mechanism. She put her hand out the window, and 18 hours later, 2 things were dead, and every step in between was as predictable as dropping a glass. There is no villain in a dropped glass, there is just physics and a person who did not believe the physics applied to them. If this story has done anything to you, then do the small thing that carries it to the next person about to roll down a window. Like this video, so it reaches somebody in a bear jam instead of a comment section. Subscribe, so you are here for the next one. Not for me, and not for a number on a screen. Do it so that one more person, somewhere, sees a wild animal up close and does the loving thing, which is nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. Here is the whole of it, and it took me a long time to be able to say it without getting angry. The bear was not a killer. The bear was a student, and she was the one who taught him. Everything he did that night, every single thing, he did because a human being had taught him to do it that afternoon, and he learned it perfectly, and he was graded on it with his life. He did not break a rule. He did not go rogue. He did exactly, precisely what he had been shown by us with our own hands out of a car window in 9 seconds with a laugh. And then we killed him for being a good student. Longtime viewers know I have talked about this before. Standing over a different animal and a different kind of arrogance. Back when a man decided a bison was a photo opportunity, and I told you then that the best photograph is the one with a living photographer. I need to update that because this one is worse. That day, the person paid. This time it was 2. The rule is not there to protect you from the animal. It never was. Half of it is there to protect the animal from you, and you will never see that half on a sign. And it is the half that this park pays every single summer. The video is still up. That is the thing that gets me, and it is where I will leave you. It is still online, still 9 seconds. Still a few million views, still filling up with people typing all underneath it. Both of them are dead, her and him. And the little clip of the two of them together at the exact moment she killed them both is still out there being adorable, and it will almost certainly outlive everyone who was there that day. There is no warning on it. There is nothing in the frame that tells you what it is. It just looks like a nice moment. It looks like love. That is what a death sentence looks like when it is handed down out of kindness. It takes 4 seconds, it is very sweet, and everybody in the video is smiling. Next time, we leave the wild animals behind for the cold water, where nothing intends you any harm at all, and the river takes the strongest person on the boat anyway. Until then, when you are somewhere beautiful and something wild comes close enough to touch, understand what you are actually holding in your hand. You are not holding a snack. You are holding that animal's whole future. And the kindest thing you will ever do for it is keep your window up and let it walk away, not knowing you exist. This has been Doomed Departures. Stay safe, and we will see you on the next one.